All right, so good evening. Thanks for being in today's class. You're going to be watching the class perhaps. I'm going to start. I was waiting a little bit, but I don't see that you're here, so I'm going to start today's class. I was trying to wait also for this trying to stop, but it's not happening. I hope that you can hear what I'm saying. If it's hard to listen to this, I'm going to try to see what we're going to do, right? But again, it's good to have some feedback. I don't know if you're able to hear what I'm saying. But anyway, I'm going to try to start today's class. Remember that this is the last week, right? This is the last week, this is the last unit, and on Friday we're going to have the last class, right? And it's going to be important then to try to work these lessons together. This is one of the last lessons we're going to be covering. It's reflexive pronouns. And on Friday, we're going to see the last lesson that is going to be related to perfect modes, right? And according to all this content, we are going to be
Good
finishing today.
afternoon.
Hello, Jose. Good afternoon. How are you? Is everything okay?
Everything okay, thank you.
Great. That's great to know. So let's continue. I was telling you, Jose, in general, that we are on the last week. We are covering the last lessons, and this is going to be one of the last lessons that is reflexive pronouns. All right. I was
Okay.
also showing you this on Pearson, and this is something I'm going to do now, Jose. I was waiting for your partners as well, but they don't join the class. So first, I want to know if you can hear me well, because it's raining very, very heavy
Yes,
over here.
yes, I can. Perfectly.
Okay, that's great. That's great to know, Jose. So, Pearson, all right, remember that we're finishing everything. We have until Friday to finish everything related to Unit 4. And I'm going to assign today the final test.
Okay.
It means that you're going to have tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to take the final test. All right, so it's going to start tomorrow at 1 a.m. I think. I'm going to do it now. Give me 1 second. All right, so you have until Saturday to take this quiz. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. And it's over here. All right, so these were the 4 units. We are about to finish Unit 4. And these are the tests for this model. And again, the test that I always give, of course, is Model 8 test, integrated skills. So you're going to be able to take this test again starting tomorrow. So the starting day is going to be tomorrow, let's say at 1 a.m. All right. Of course, very early. You can start that one. And it's going to be until Saturday at 11:59 p.m. All right. So you have you have tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday, 3 entire days to take this quiz. The only difference.
So I could take it tomorrow, right?
Yes, if you want, you can take it tomorrow, Jose.
Okay.
That's correct.
Nice.
Okay. It's important also, we are missing one lesson, Jose. So on Friday, we're going to cover the last lesson. But if you feel sure and if you know that content already, you can take it tomorrow. Tomorrow, it's just in case you want to take it in advance.
Okay.
Okay, good. So 60 minutes, all right, you're going to have 60 minutes for the final exam. And that's it. All right, so with this, we're finishing everything with Pearson, Jose. Friday is the last day to finish all the assignments for Unit 4, the last unit, and Saturday is the last day to take the quiz. That is the final exam this time. Do you have any questions about Pearson, Jose? Let me know, please.
No, I don't have.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to be closing this one. Let me be sure that I assign that correctly. I'm going to go to Gradebook. And good. So as you can see, you have 4 tests in totals. 3 were quizzes for the units, and the last one is the final exam. So let's close this one and let's go over here. Just in case, I'm sharing the link for the practice for today. Because it's the same document, but I'm sharing it in the chat.
Okay.
All right, there you go. And let's start today's lesson. That is going to be reflexive pronouns. All right, so let's begin by reading the definition, please, Jose. Let's read the entire definition.
Reflexive pronouns are words like myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, ourself, yourselves, and themselves. They refer back to a person or thing.
Thank you very much. So reflexive pronouns, right, is one word that is referring to yourself in a certain way, right? Myself, yourself, himself, herself, the ones that you read are all reflexive pronouns. And we are going to see that we can use them in many situations, right? Let's learn about those situations to practice. Usage. I'm going to read this. It says, we often use reflexive pronouns when the subject and the object of a verb are the same. Okay, so this is very important to know. I'm going to analyze the first examples. I am going to read them. So it says, I cut myself. The subject is I, and the reflexive pronoun is myself. It's the same, so I use myself. I cut myself when I was making dinner last night. I hope you enjoy yourselves at the party. It means that I hope that you enjoy, right, by yourselves, that you have a good time. Let's continue with these two examples, please, Jose. My phone and we.
My phone isn't working properly. It turns itself off for no reason. We need to believe in ourselves more.
Thank you very much. So here we have it, and we have itself, and we have we, and we have ourselves. Now, we use this instead of the object, the common object. For example, it's not correct if I say, I cut me. Okay, that's not correct. We're not going to say, I cut me. We're going to say, I cut myself. I hope you enjoy you at the party. No, I hope you enjoy yourselves. It turns it off. No, it turns itself off, right? By itself. We need to believe in us. We're not going to say us, we're going to say in ourselves. All right, so when we have the same subject and the object, when they are the same, we are going to use reflexive pronouns. All right, let's try to write some example, Jose. This can be a little bit difficult, but try to give me two examples, please, Jose. Try to write in the document that is in the chat using these reflexive pronouns. Remember, to use reflexive pronouns, you have to use in the first usage the same subject and the same object. Instead of me, you're going to say myself. Instead of you, yourself. Okay, let's try to do it, please.
Okay.
All right, very good. So let's stop the timer and let's check what you got. Let me go over there. And Jose, here you are. So let's try to read your examples, please.
Okay, they made the dinner by themselves. You have to practice by yourself.
Okay, thank you very much. Good. So This is one other usage for themselves, ourselves. It means alone, right? Here
Yeah.
also, if you realize that there's a little bit of difference, and it's correct what you're doing, it's correct. But here, for example, the emphasis is not that you are doing it alone, but that it happened to you, all right, and only to you. For example, if you say, I cut myself, it doesn't mean that you alone did that, right? It means only that you did it to yourself, right?
Mhm.
Also here, right, it turns itself off for no reason. Of course, it's alone without any help, but in this case, it's only referring that the object and the subject, right, they are the same. Your examples are good, but again, when we add the word by themselves and by yourself, this by, it means alone, and it's not only refers to the same object, all right? Let's try to think of the following, Jose. They made dinner by themselves. Try to give me the example, or this one. I'm going to write this for you. It
Okay.
says the following, all right? I did me a favor, right, by not going to that party. All right, so this one. Here, something is incorrect. Why? What is incorrect, and how do you change that one, Jose? Here we can use reflexive pronouns. What do you say?
Mm. Instead by could be I or
Actually, in this case, this is going to be okay. By means this is the way, all right, that I'm doing myself a favor. So, but I actually already gave you the answer. It means that instead of using the object
me,
me, we can use the object, all
myself.
right, myself. Exactly. All right. It means that you did the favor, right, for yourself, but there we are not going to use by myself, right? Only myself, because in this case, the subject and the object are the same, all right? So it's a different situation. It's not alone. It only means that happens to you and only to you. If we analyze this one over here, we're going to try to write an example like this, Jose. It says, we need to believe in ourselves more. What about this one? If I change that one and I say this, Jose, he has to believe in him. All right. Let's suppose that that him is related to the same subject, he. If that's the case, what can we change there, Jose?
Him instead himself instead him.
Correct, exactly. Means that he believes in himself. Do you realize the difference between these sentences and your sentences is
Yes.
that these sentences are things that happened to you or to him, but it's happening to you. But in your sentences that are correct, Jose, your sentences are correct, but the meaning is different because it means alone, right? They made the dinner alone without help. You have to practice alone without help, right? That's the difference between only saying themselves and between saying by themselves. I don't know if you have any questions about that.
No, I don't have.
Okay, good. So that's the first one, right? So let's remember in this first case, Jose, then we are not going to use by, we are only going to use myself, yourself, itself, himself, ourselves, etc., etc. Then we have the next one, and this is interesting. So this is a different usage. And again, here we don't use by, but here the meaning is interesting because it's adding emphasis. I want you to read this one, please, Jose. Let's read every.
We can add a reflexive pronoun for emphasis when it's unusual or different. He wants to pass his driving test so that he can drive himself to work. She broke her arm, so she couldn't wash herself very easily.
Thank you very much. So in this case, it's adding emphasis, all right? So that he can drive himself to work. Of course, it's referring to that same person, right? We don't say alone. It can be implicit, all right? But the idea here is only emphasis, all right? And if you want to use himself as emphasis, Jose, we are not going to use by. We're only going to use himself. The same in the second one, right? She couldn't wash herself very easily. All right. That's the next one. But let's go. Let's continue. We're going to try to write examples in the ones that are more useful. And the next one is very interesting as well. This one, let's read this one as well, please, Jose.
We can use reflexive pronouns to emphasize that someone does it personally, not anybody else. The door was definitely locked. I locked it myself. Are you recording your flat yourselves?
Thank you very much. So if you realize, these three are kind of connected. This one, the first one, the first usage, this one, and this one. In other words, the first three are telling you that you're only going to use myself and not by myself when you are doing something personally, all right? But it doesn't mean alone. When you say the door was definitely locked, I locked it myself, you want to say that you did it, all right? And that you are sure that you did it. The emphasis is not that you did it alone without any help. No, the emphasis here is that you did it and that you're sure that you did that action because you remember. In the second one, are you redecorating your flat, right? Your apartment yourselves? It means again that you are doing it, not specifically without any help, but you're doing it personally. All right.
Yes.
I don't know if you have any questions about this last two, Jose. Let me know, please.
No, I don't have.
Okay. Now there's one that I want to practice even more, is this one. We're going to write examples for this one. And in this case, I'm going to ask you, Fabiana, now that you're here, let's read this slide, please, Fabiana. It says adding emphasis. Let's read everything.
Okay. We can also use a reflexive pronoun together with the noun it refers to in order to emphasize it. We talked to the manager herself, and she agreed to give us our money back. Parents themselves need to take more responsibility for their children's learning.
Okay, thank you very much. So this is really interesting because it also may mean like in person or personally as the previous one. When you say, right, we talk to the manager, you can say this. All right, I'm going to show you. You can say this and it's going to be okay. The sentence is correct, right? We talked to the manager and she agreed to give us our money back. It's correct. But if you want to put emphasis and you want to say that you spoke or had a conversation with the manager in person, personally, or you just want to emphasize manager, you use the reflexive pronoun herself, because in this case it's a girl, right? If it's a boy, a man, it's going to be himself. In the second one also, if you only say parents need to take more responsibility for their children or for their children's learning, it's correct. But if you add this, right? Sorry, let me go back. Themselves, that is the reflexive pronoun for plural, right? It means that you're only adding more emphasis in parents. So you're putting more attention into parents and you're saying, you parents, right? You yourselves, or you can say parents themselves need to take more responsibility for their children's learning. All right, so again, In this case, as you can see, it's not the same as in the examples that we were working, Jose, at the beginning, because if we analyze our examples, I did myself a favor by not going to the party, or he has to believe in himself. It means that I am doing one action that is that I, all right, myself, am receiving. Okay, or he is doing an action and he himself is receiving the action. That's the first way of usage. All right, you do something and you receive that action. He does something and he receives that action. That is the first way to use myself, yourself, himself. But now in this example, the difference is that you are not doing something, all right, to yourself. No, you're only referring to one person, and after mentioning that person or that group, you're using the reflexive pronoun to put more emphasis in that person or in that group of people or in that object. Okay, and I'm going to give you one more example so that it is clear. If you want to say, right, let's suppose that you, okay, someone famous, I don't know, all right, what artist you like, I'm going to imagine, all right, for example, one of my favorite artists or bands is Pink Floyd, and the guitarist, right, the guitar player is David Gilmour. And let's imagine that I saw him, all right, and I had a short conversation with him, and I, of course, want to put emphasis on that one. So I'm going to say, right, last month, I had a short, let's say, right, with David Gilmour, right? So it means that I am not doing something that I am receiving. It doesn't mean that, okay, here I am only giving emphasis to David Gilmour. All right, and I'm saying that's a person, right? Last month, I had a short conversation with David Gilmour. It's enough. But if I say David Gilmour himself, I'm saying it was him, all right? It was really him, all right? And it's important that you know that this is a main thing for me to say, all right? And again, I spoke a lot so far. Let me know first if you have any questions, please, Jose, Fabiana. If not, I would like you to write a couple of examples, please. Again, we have to follow all this logic and pay attention. You are using the reflexive pronoun after the person, after the group of people, after the object, all right, on which you want to put some emphasis. All right, and here you have those two examples. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, let's go to the document and let's write two examples with this type of usage, please, Jose and Fabiana. All right, we're going to have a couple of minutes. Let's do it, please. All right, so we're going to try to check what you got, but in the meantime, again, even though we saw a lot of types there, Jose, there are so far two important ways on how to use reflexive pronoun. First is when the subject and the object are the same, right? It's going to be like this. And this is the last explanation, and you show me yours, right? It says, for example, I love myself. That's the first example. It means that you love you. I love me. But I don't say I love me, right? That's going to be incorrect. If I say I love me, it's not that correct, all right? It's better to say I love myself, all right? That's the first usage. Subject and object are the same. In that case, you use reflexive pronoun. And the other usage is only emphasis on one object or one person or group of people. I saw, right? And you're going to say Obama himself. It means that you are putting emphasis on the person, that is Obama. I saw Obama himself. All right? It means, wow, it was him. All right? So it's important to recognize these two, please. It's very, very important. They are different, right? They are not the same. They transmit a different idea. The first one is for the same person, and the other one is only emphasis on a different person for that sentence. Let's try to check what you got. I think you have yours, Jose. Let's read what you got, please.
The book Writing It Herself is one of the most popular in the country.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, let's try to analyze. If it says the book written it herself, right? What is the noun for herself, Jose? Who is herself?
She.
Okay, and where is she? Right? If you analyze your sentence, you first something is missing, right? It says the book written. It's okay, can be written, only written, like in passive voice, written. But you need something else, one object, but then you said it. And after it, you say herself. But I don't think you can use it and herself because it is one object and herself is for people, right? For girls.
Yes.
Is one of the most popular in the country. So something is missing. And again, here I think in your example, Jose, you want to say something different that is more for the first examples that we were writing. It's like she wrote the book herself, or the book that she wrote herself. But that means that she did it, all right? But if you analyze these examples once again, these ones over here, the meaning here is not something that someone did. No, it's only emphasis for one person. I saw, again, my example, I saw, right, Obama himself. The emphasis is in Obama. Obama didn't do anything. I'm just putting emphasis on Obama. Or if I say, right, I had a conversation with, I'm going to say, I don't know, Donald Trump himself. I had a conversation, okay, I had a conversation, something extra, with Donald Trump himself. Donald Trump is not doing anything. I'm just saying that Donald Trump is important for me in that sentence, and I give him emphasis by saying himself after Donald Trump, right? So try to rethink your sentence, Jose, and try to give me an idea. And in your idea, you have to mention one person, you have to mention one group, or you have to mention one object. And after that object, immediately, you have to use the object, sorry, the reflexive pronoun, and it means that it has emphasis. All right, let's try to write another one, please, Jose.
Okay.
Okay, Let's try to go with you, Fabiana. Let's read your examples, please.
Okay, teacher. We go to the job and see Brad Pitt himself. Governments themselves need more responsibility for the money of the country.
Okay, thank you very much. I think they are very good. Only one observation in the first one. If you say we go to the job and see Brad Pitt himself, it means that this is a routine, that this happens all the time. All right, we always go to the job and we always see Brad Pitt. All right, but in that case, if it always happened, all right, it's like Brad Pitt, then okay, it's just one more person because I see it every day. I think your sentence would be better if it's in past, right? In simple past. We went to our jobs and saw, right, Brad Pitt himself. And again, why? Because if you use present simple, it means that this is a repetitive action that happens every day. All right, but the idea of using himself is correct. Very good. And I saw, and we saw, right? And it's okay, so only saw, and saw Brad Pitt himself. Good. And in the other one, governments themselves, good, needs more responsibility for the money of the country. Okay, perhaps needs, you can say needs to have more responsibility, right, with the money of our country could be, right? So that's only one extra thing that you can add, Fabiana. They need to have more responsibility, right, with the money of our country. That's it. I don't know if you have any questions or comments, Fabiana.
No.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. And again, if you realize this way is not hard to use, only use one name, a woman, a man, or can be an object or a group of people, and then use the reflexive pronoun, and it means emphasis. All right, and it means emphasis. Let's try now to check and go back to you, Jose. Let's try to see yours, please.
Okay, runners test themselves always before a competition. She considers herself a good and interesting person to start a conversation.
Okay, thank you very much, Jose. And again, your two sentences are correct, but they are still the first type of sentence, right? If you realize, and again, let's see the difference. These two sentences over here, Jose. I, right, is the subject, and I'm going to change this directly to me, right? So, and this is the verb, right? And this is one verb, and it's going to be like that. It says, I love me. So if I receive the action, I can use the reflexive pronoun, right? That's the first time, but we already worked with that, and it means him, myself. It's the same for he loves him, right? We're not going to say that, we're going to say himself. And if you're realizing your sentences, it's the same idea. It's just that you have more words, but it says runners, the subject, right? This is the subject again. Test, this is the verb. And who is receiving the action of the verb? Themselves, them, right? So it means that your sentence is the first type. When you receive the action yourself, when he receives the action himself, when they receive the action themselves. And here the same, right? You have the subject, she, then you have the verb, and who is receiving the action of this verb? Her, right? So we say herself. So you are still working with the first type, Jose. Now, the examples that we need to write now is the second type, that is this one. All right, let me have this one, the second sentence, Jose, and it says, I saw Obama himself. And if you realize this is the subject, right? This is the verb. And who is receiving the action? All right, who is receiving the action here? Someone else. Okay, someone else. In this case, Obama. Obama is receiving the action. I am not receiving the action. That's why I don't say myself. Himself is not for me, it's for Obama. And it's not, again, Jose, because Obama did something. It's only to put emphasis in Obama. It's like saying this in other words, Jose. If you can change your idea for this, it's not the same, all right? But it's something similar. In person, then your sentence is correct. All right, could be, but it has to make sense. So if you say runners test in person always before, no, right? She considers in person a good, interesting, no, right? So it's a different one. So when you use the reflexive pronoun after a person, all right, without doing an action, it means in person. It means only emphasis, all right? It's not one action. If we analyze, and this is the last one, let's try to work also with you. Say after this example, the Fabiana's example. She says, right, we went to the job and saw Brad Pitt himself. Himself is not for we, right? No, this is something different. Himself is only for Brad Pitt. That means that they saw Brad Pitt in person, that they saw Brad Pitt and wow, it was Brad Pitt himself. All right, and the same here. Governments themselves, all right, emphasis in the governments, need to have more responsibility, right, for the money or with the money of the country. All right, so let me know, please, if you have any questions. We're going to try to write examples about that, Jose, but it's important that we understand the difference between these two. What do you say?
Okay, I'm thinking that in the second part, the main idea is that the subject don't have, I don't know, the subject. We don't talk about the subject, right?
Exactly. In the second one, this word is not connected to the subject, Jose. All right. This word is connected to the object.
Yes.
And in the first one, in the first sentence, this word is connected to the subject. All right.
Okay.
That's very good. That's the main difference. In the first one, you have to connect both subject and object. But in the second one, no. The subject can be a different subject, right? Or the object can be a different object. But the idea is that himself is going to be related to the word next to that one.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Very good, Jose. There you go. If you want later on, you can write more examples and I'm going to check them out. All right. Good. Let's try to continue. That was then the second main usage. We have a lot, but if we analyze these ones, Fabiana, Jose, if we analyze, this is the same because the subject and the reflexive pronoun, they are the same. So this is the same, this is the same, and this is the same. All right, that's why these three slides, even though they mention something different, they are this type of example that I showed you. I love myself. I, the subject, love the action. Who is receiving the action? I am receiving the action, right? He, the subject, loves the object. Who is receiving the action? He is receiving the action. So himself, all right? So all the three first slides are for the first type. But this one that we just covered, and it's important again that you notice the difference, this one, sorry, over here, it means that it always, and that's something that you mentioned, Jose, they go together with a noun. Manager, it's a noun. Parents, it's a noun. Okay, you have to mention a noun. Peter, it's a noun. Fabiana, it's a noun. Computer, it's a noun, all right? When you use it next to a noun, it means only emphasis, all right? To emphasize this object or this person. Now that we have that one, we're going to use the one that you use at the beginning, Jose, by. using by. But let's read this one, please, Fabiana. Let's read this slide.
Okay, by. We can use by plus reflexive pronoun to mean alone. He usually goes on holiday by himself. Do you enjoy being by yourself?
Thank you very much. So you use by before the reflexive pronoun when you want to say alone, right? If you realize here, this subject is not receiving the action, all right? When you say, I cut myself, all right? I cut myself. I receive the action, right? When you say, I love myself, I receive the action. But if you say by myself, the meaning is different. It means alone, that you do something alone without any help, all right? It means, for example, in other words, he usually goes on holiday alone. Do you enjoy being alone? All right, so that's the usage for by and reflexive pronoun. So if you realize, now I'm going to add that to the list, please, so that you remember, we have 3 main so far. This one is alone, and I'm going to add one example. I did it by myself. In this case, alone. All right, sorry, alone. In this case, emphasis. And in this case, receiving the action. Okay, if you understand that difference between these 3, you're going to know very well how to use the reflexive pronouns. All right, so I'm adding that one once again. And here, this is the subject. Okay, so let's review the 3 ways. I love myself. I received the action. I saw Obama himself. Emphasis in or on the noun. Let's say that one. Emphasis on the noun. What is the noun? Obama. I did it by myself. And sorry, this also has to be, of course, like that. It means alone, right? So with that extra information, please, Fabiana and Jose, again, let's go to the document and let's write 2 examples with by and reflexive pronouns, please. And again, if you have any doubts or questions, just let me know. All right, and as you're finishing, I'm going to add one more type that is going to be emphasis, but on the subject. That is like this, all right? That it's also mentioned in the presentation, but it can be a little bit confusing if we don't understand the difference. And it's going to be this one. All right. And I'm going to use one example that is really interesting. I took, all right, that picture, sorry, myself. I am the best. Okay, I'm going to add context. And I'm going to give a second example for this one so that this is clear. All right. And I'm going to say, I took myself a picture. All right. So there, okay, it doesn't matter. I'm going to keep it that way. Later on, I'm going to fix that. All right. Or one picture, we're going to say. So that this is not going to interfere. All right. The thing is that I'm going to show you the difference. And then we're going to make it correctly. But first, I want to check your examples. Let's go with you, Jose, please. Let's begin with your example.
Okay, we usually create Christmas shirts in December by ourselves. He should start to study by himself.
Okay, thank you very much. Good, that one is only for capital letter, right? But here we're using by correctly, Jose. Thank you very much. Very good. And let's do it with you, please, Fabiana.
Okay, teacher. I did the teamwork by myself, and I need to talk about this with my professor. She prepared the cake by herself, and it was delicious.
Thank you very much. Good. So it means alone, right? We did the teamwork, or I did the teamwork by myself. It means alone. Good. And great. You're playing with the ideas, comma, and I need to talk about this with the professor. Great. And the second one, past also, I prepared the cake by herself. Sorry, she prepared the cake by herself, and it was delicious. Now, here I have something also. It's not incorrect, all right, to use and after a period, but in English and also in Spanish, sometimes it's too strong. My advice is that sometimes instead of periods, Fabiana, you can use a semicolon. If you feel that the connection is not that strong, use a semicolon and then you can use and. But and after a period is like too strong. You can use other expressions like also, all right, after a period. But and, let's only use and after a comma and after a semicolon. All right, so in this case, the correction would be this one. Let's change that one for the semicolon, and you change that to lowercase letter. Or the other option, Fabiana, is that you can keep the period, okay, period. Instead of and, you're going to say also, and you're going to use a comma after also. Also, it was delicious. All right, but again, we use period and something that shows addition when the idea is too long, all right, or when it's too complex. That's why if it's not too complex or like that, we are only going to use comma or semicolon with and. All right, I don't know if you have any questions about that, Fabiana. Let me know, please.
No, teacher.
Okay, thank you very much. So I was telling you this. Over here. So in total, we have like 4 important ways of how using this. I'm trying to work one example, right, so that it's clearer, but I'm going to try to make it in the best way possible because I have to change the order so that it is 100% correctly in grammar, but it's going to cause a little bit of confusion. So I'm just going to say this, all right? I'm going to keep the example. I took myself, all right, or I took a picture myself. Let's say that one directly, all right? I need to change the order so that it is correct. So, and like that, all right? So the first type If you want to use reflective pronouns, is when you receive the action. You took a picture, right? And instead of me, you're going to say of myself, right? This replaces object, receiving the action. You are the object, or the person is the subject, okay, and the object. It means that, as Jose was saying, there has to be a connection between the subject and the object. Always. I took a picture of myself, right? The second type is emphasis on the subject. Here, you didn't take, right? I'm going to give you the example. I think I'm without my camera. All right. So in the first one, all right, in the first example, Jose and Fabiana, I'm with my cell phone, right? Am I taking a selfie, let's say? All right, it's a selfie. In the first example, it's a selfie. I took a picture of myself. That's a selfie, right? In the second example, you're taking a picture to someone else or to something else, right? You took a picture of the landscape and it's a beautiful picture, or of a car and it was a beautiful car and the picture is amazing. Okay, and if you want to emphasize that you did it, you didn't do something to you. No, you did something, but if you want to emphasize that you took that picture, you say, I took that picture myself. It means that I did it, all right? Really, I did it. I took that picture. The third one, again, it's emphasis for the noun. I saw Obama himself, all right? Obama, wow. And how is he? Is he tall? Is he short? How is he? It's amazing, right? It's emphasis on the object, or simply emphasis on the noun. Next to the noun is emphasis for that noun. And when you use it by, it means alone. All right, so as you can see, you can use this in 4 different cases, and the meaning in the 4 cases is different. Okay, the meaning in the 4 cases is different. Let me know if you understand, please, this explanation over here. I'm going to try to ask you, and you're going to try to give me some examples to verify if you have this clear. What do you say, Jose? Do you understand the difference between these 4 examples?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
I did.
Okay, thank you very much. What do you say, Fabiana? Do you have any questions about how to use reflexive pronouns in these 4 ways?
Yes, teacher, I understand that in first we have emphasized on object, and in the second in myself, in the person, but I'm not sure.
Okay, yes, because we have 4 types, right? In the first 2, okay, actually the other one is different also. So I'm going to divide this like this. And it's not only the object, Fabiana, because sometimes the noun can be subject, as in your example. If you realize here, Fabiana, when you say governments themselves, it's not the object, right? It's the subject. But you're not saying that the government is doing something for the government. No, you're only saying governments themselves, they, all right? And only they. It's emphasis on them. So the big difference is the following, Fabian. And again, let's understand one by one. The first one is when the subject does, all right? When the subject does an action and who receives the action is the same subject. That is the object this time, all right? It's the same, right? As I'm saying, I took a picture of myself, or I love myself. Okay, so I do the action, I receive the action. But I say I, right? But it can be he, she, it, they, but the idea is there, all right? I do the action, I receive the action. He does the action, he receives the action. That's the first one, all right? When you receive the action. In this case, the action is taking a picture and you are receiving that action because you are taking the picture of yourself. In the second one is only emphasis on this action, on the entire action, not on the, and actually I'm going to say on the subject and the action that is doing. All right. It means if I say I took a picture myself, or I took that picture myself, it means really, believe me, I did that action. I took that picture and that picture is beautiful. Or you can say, I built my house, right? And I did it myself. And you're only putting emphasis on the idea that you did it. All right. So the second one is emphasis. Is not something that you receive. Okay. Because if you say, I built the house myself, you're not receiving the action of building, right? No, the action of building is the house. You're only saying that you did that action. Okay. And you did it, no one else. It's like saying, yes, he did that, or he finished that project himself. It means that he did it, and it's amazing because he did it. In the third one, all right, it's emphasis for the noun that is next to the word, Fabiana. Any noun that is next to that word. Obama himself, parents themselves. And this can be object or can be subject. As this is going to be the same example for this one, Fabiana. Obama himself, right, went to the conference. It's the same. Emphasis on the noun. All right. And in this case, again, you are not doing one action. No. You're not putting emphasis on an action. No. You're only putting emphasis on the noun that is next to the reflexive pronoun. All right. Obama himself in this case. All right. And the last one is different to the other ones, right? For example, again, it's different because it only means alone. I did it myself, he did it himself, right? She, I don't know, started that company by herself. It means alone, all right? It means alone, it means without any help. That here, that's the main emphasis. Right, and again, I'm going around the same ideas because, again, it can be confusing, but it's very important for me to see if you were able to understand. We're going to we're going to work with some examples speaking. I'm going to see how you're doing, but once again, I don't know, Fabiana, if that last explanation help a little bit more to understand this. What do you say?
Yes, teacher, it's more clear.
Okay, good. Now let's try to test it. Again, you don't have to master this, all right, Jose and Fabiana? You don't have to be expert on this, because if you check Pearson, on Pearson, they are not teaching you this detail or in this detail. They just want you to know that a reflexive pronoun is this, and you use it in mainly, they are going to teach you this type and perhaps this type. Okay, those are the two types that they are going to teach you on Pearson. So I'm giving you this that is extra. And again, you have that one on the examples over here. All right, in the first part of the presentation, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in general. But in these 5, we find 4 that are the main ones, that are these ones. All right, so let's try again. I'm speaking a lot, so let's try to work with examples. I'm going to try to start with you, Fabiana. The first one. In the first one, remember that the subject is doing something and the subject is receiving that action. If the subject is I, then who is going to receive the action? I am going to receive the action. If the subject is he, who is going to receive the action? He is going to receive the action, so himself. Let's try to work on one example, Fabiana, only speaking. What example comes to your mind for the first time? Let's divide this one like this. What do you say?
Maybe I prepare a delicious pasta of myself.
Okay, if you say that one, are you receiving the action of preparing, what do you say? Because if you say myself, you are putting emphasis, Fabiana. Your example is for number 2, that you did it yourself, that you did that action. But again, the main difference, and it can be confusing, it's that you are receiving the main action of the verb. Okay, it's like saying, Fabiana, in this first example, you have to be able to say something like this, Fabiana. I prepared myself. That is the first example, because prepared is for you. Okay, if you say I prepared a delicious dinner myself, you're putting emphasis on you, but also on the action that you are doing. All right, and that's number 2. That's the big difference. Again, in the first one, Fabiana, you have to receive the action. In this case, who or what gives the action is the verb. Take. All right, take. So what do you say? One more try. One more try. The verb has to be completely related to you, Fabiana, and the verb has to occur to you. It has to occur to you, right? When you take a picture of yourself, it means that the picture is happening to you. What do you say?
Maybe I took a shower of myself.
Okay, I took a shower myself. I took a shower of myself. That would be a little bit hard, all right? Because of the idea, right? I took a shower. That's something that like we don't need. Let's try one more different verb or action, because we can see that one, but to take a shower, right, of myself, or take a shower myself could be. But again, the idea of taking the shower or showering, I would change the expression, perhaps, Fabiana, because take a shower, it's a different expression. I showered myself. Use, instead of that one, Fabiana, to work with this example, the verb shower, because you can use shower as a verb, and you can say I showered myself, and it means that you are doing what action and you are receiving directly that action. All right, I showered myself. All right, that's the number 1. Let's go with number 2. Also you, Fabiana, we're going to work with these 2 first. In number 2, you put emphasis on the action and on the subject. Like in your first example could be, but try to give me a different one, Fabiana. What do you say in number 2?
Maybe I repaired the bathroom myself.
Correct. Exactly. Good. In that case, you are saying that you did something and you're putting emphasis on the idea that you did it, right? You are the one who did that. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's alone. No, the idea here is not that one. The idea is only that you did it. Good, very good. Let's try, thank you, Fabian. Let's try to go with you, Jose. The same. Let's try to begin with number 1. Remember, Jose, in number 1, you are doing one action and you are receiving that action. But immediately, the action has to be like, you do, you receive immediately.
I have to give you a sentence or I have to read it first?
No, you only give me the sentence, Jose, without reading.
He called the police by himself.
Right, but if you realize in that one, Jose, by himself, it's something different. That's number 5. All right, because it means alone, right? Remember that you have to receive the action, Jose. So for example, in this one, this is Fabiana's example. Yeah, tell me.
I have to use a, like in first person, right?
It can be first person or it can be third person. It can be any subject that you want. So it can be he, she, it, we, you, they. But the idea is that the subject is doing one action and that action is also for the subject.
Okay.
But
I prepare a pizza of myself.
Okay, and again, that's the one that Fabiana said at the beginning. That's for number 2, Jose, because the action of preparing is not you. You are preparing a pizza or you are preparing food. So who is receiving the action? The food, right?
Okay.
You are not receiving the action. That's for number 2 because you're saying, I prepared the pizza myself. It means that you did it, okay? But that's number 2. In number 1 again, try to think of that one. Jose, try one more time. You do the action, you receive the action. He does the action, he receives the action. What do you say? What else do you say?
Could be I read a book of myself.
Okay, if the book is about yourself,
Yes.
could be. All right, if the book is about yourself, could be. But again, the idea directly, Jose, if we analyze that one, that can be, but it's again like reading. What is receiving the action of reading? Could be if it's about yourself. All right, let me write down that one. I
Okay.
read.
It could be I saw a book of myself.
Okay, okay. If you are seeing yourself on that book, it is correct. Okay, again, the idea is that you receive directly the action, and I'm going to give you a big example, and you're going to see that with this example is clear. Number 1 is like saying, I saw myself
In a book.
on the mirror. All right, that's the idea of number 1. Okay, the idea of number 1, sorry, it's going to be the mirror, is that you receive the action directly. You are seeing yourself in the mirror, right? If you say the idea of the book can be again, if you have your picture over there and you wrote the book, right? It can be, but the main idea again is that you have to receive the action directly, Jose. Like I took a picture of myself, right? The picture myself. I showered myself. You are showering yourself, right? You are receiving the action. I saw myself in the mirror. It means that anybody else but you are seeing yourself in the mirror. I don't know if number 1 it's clear or if you have any questions, Jose. Let me know, please.
It's clear.
Okay, number 2. Number 2, it's a little bit different, Jose. This time you are putting emphasis on the subject and the action, not only the subject. For example, I took that picture myself. Or the example that you were giving at the beginning, Jose. I prepared that pizza myself. Give me one example, please, of that type.
Could be I write about myself in a magazine.
All right, but actually that's number 1. All right, if you say that you write about yourself, it means that you're writing something about you. Okay, you're receiving the action. But in this one, in the first one, try to put emphasis on the action that you're doing. And I'm going to help you with that one. You can say, I'm writing that book myself. Okay, or I wrote that book myself. And what is the difference? Okay, we're going to see the difference. I wrote that book myself. Okay, this is your example for number 2. Okay, and this is your example for number 1. Okay, so in number 1, you are receiving the action because you're writing about you. And in number 2, you're only saying that you wrote that book. It doesn't matter if it's about you, all right? Because in number 2, it doesn't matter if you're receiving the action or not. It doesn't matter if it's about you. It only matters that you did that action of writing the book. I cooked that pasta myself, okay? I did it. I wrote that book myself. I did it. And again, you're not receiving the action, you're only saying that you did it, and it's clear that you did it. I don't know if you have any questions about number 2, Jose. Let me know, please.
No, I don't have.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, I'm trying to work this. I know that it's a little bit confusing, but let's try to get the most important ones for me are number 1 and number 5. All right, but again, let's try to work the rest of them. And actually, well, number 4, 3 and 4 are the same. That's just a variation, right? So let's go, please, Fabiana, with you. Number 3, emphasis on the noun. You have 2 examples, right? I saw Obama himself, or Obama himself went to the conference. What do you say about that, Fabiana?
Maybe maybe boys themselves learn to drive a car.
Okay, good. Yes, because the emphasis that you're giving, it doesn't matter the sentence, but if you're giving me one noun, boys, then as is boys, right, themselves, it means that the emphasis is on the noun and it's correct. Good. Boys themselves learn how to drive a car. Correct. Number 4, please, Fabiana. By an reflexive pronoun that means alone or without any help. What do you say?
Maybe he finished a hard homework by himself.
Yes. He finished, right? Some, instead of a, because homework is going to be uncountable, you're going to say some. Okay, so he finished some hard homework by himself. Correct. I want to know now if you have any questions about these 4 ways of using reflexive pronouns in general, Fabiana. Let me know, please.
No,
Or any comments. Okay.
totally.
Okay, thank you very much. And just one more thing to add in the first one. Remember, as you can see, this is the important part on the first one. I told you, right, I didn't want to write this example. It was because of grammar that I had to do it. But the idea is that you have one action and you receive the action immediately. I showered myself. I showered me. I saw myself. I saw me. I received the action. Remember and I'm going to replace this one with that one. I cut myself, okay, by accident. So I was playing with the paper and I cut myself, okay? I received the action. It's like when you're doing, right? Sometimes you want to remember something and you send a message to yourself, right, on WhatsApp sometimes, or you want to save some documents and you text yourself, and you can say that I text myself to save some information. Okay, so who is receiving this action? You are receiving this action, all right? So again, those are only some extra things so that you can see the difference between those ones. All right,
Okay.
again, okay, thank you very much. Again, if you have any questions or comments, you can interrupt. That's it. But now I would like to work with you, Jose, with number 3 and number 4. In number 3, again, it's emphasis on the noun. Obama himself, for example. What example can you think about this?
I have to give you a sentence, right?
Yes, correct. Using the logic of number 3.
Okay. President Arce himself called to Evo Morales to say something important.
Okay, That's perfect. Correct. The emphasis is not in the action, anything else, only on the noun. In this case, right, President Arce. Correct. That was a very good example, Jose. Number 4, please. In number 4, by means alone or without any help.
Okay. He make a movie by himself.
Okay. In that one, if you're saying he make, it could be present, right? But it's going to be he makes.
He
Made.
makes. Right.
Good. Thank you very much, Jose. That's correct. So you have 2 options, right? He makes movies by himself, always present, simple present, or simple past. He made a movie by himself, right? Those 2 options. Good. Do you have any questions one more time? And the last time, please, Jose, about these 4? Let me know, please.
No, I don't have.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good. So with that, we're going to kind of finish. Again, if you have doubts, remember that this information is for you. You can come here to classwork unit 4 and you can check these examples, all right? And I'm actually also going to add this to the presentation so that we have that difference even clearer. Later on, I'm going to add it, all right? It's going to be in a different after this one. But again, that is the main idea and the main thing that I wanted to give you over here, guys. We only have one more. We're not going to write examples about this, don't worry. But it's only one difference between myself and between something reciprocal, like each other, because it's different, right? To say themselves and to say each other or one another. Let's try to read this one, please, Fabiana. Reciprocal pronouns.
Okay, teacher. Reciprocal pronouns. Notice the difference between plural reflexive pronouns and reciprocal pronouns. Each other, one other. They are buying themselves a new television. They are buying each other small gifts. We looked at ourselves in the mirror. We looked at each other in surprise.
Thank you very much, Fabiana. And to understand this one, we're going to try to work with only one example that I'm going to write over here. All right, and you're going to try to tell me what's the difference between these. John, let's say, I'm going to use names because it's going to be clear. I'm going to use your name, Jose. All right, so I don't have the accents over here. And Fabiana looked at themselves, and Jose and Fabiana looked at each other. All right, some people confuse these 2 terms, these 2 pronouns, themselves and each other. So what is the difference? Who can tell me? You can participate if you want, Jose and Fabiana. What is the difference between these 2 sentences? Who can try to explain?
I think it's the same idea.
All right, could be the same, but actually there's one little difference, but it's going to make this sentence very different. What do you say? There's one little detail. Because actually themselves and each other, they mean something different. One,
the first,
yeah, tell me, Jose.
I don't know, Jose is looking himself and Fabiana is looking herself.
Good, very good. And what about the second one?
The second one is they are looking Both.
So, good. So
Thank
Jose
you.
is looking at Fabiana and Fabiana is looking at Jose,
Yes.
right? Correct. Thank you very much, Jose. Great. That was a great explanation and you are right, Jose. That was correct. When you use reflexive pronouns, it's only for you in this type, right? So in other words, Jose is, or let's use past over. Jose looked at himself and Fabiana looked at herself, right? That's the meaning of the first one. When you say Jose and Fabiana looked at themselves, it means this one, right? Jose looked at himself and Fabiana looked at herself. But in number two means something different, right? It means that Jose looked at Fabiana, right? And let's use that one. And Fabiana looked at Jose. All right. So again, be careful because many people use these words incorrectly. Okay, themselves means only to you, only for you. And each other means an exchange, that you're doing something for a different person and that person is doing something for you. All right. And that's the last thing. The only thing that I'm telling you in the last part is to be careful, to know the difference between these two and to know how to use them. It's the same with ourselves, right? If I say we did it ourselves or we gave gifts each other, it means that I gave one gift to you and you gave me one gift, right? That's the meaning. Each other is always an exchange. Themselves or ourselves, it's only for us and for anybody else, right? And that's it. I think with this, we're actually going to finish. This, as always, you have some links that you can check in the presentation if you want to practice reflexive pronouns. And that's it. I'm going to finish just by telling you, please, to try to work on Pearson. Remember that Pearson is going to be the very important thing for your grades. Friday, 11:59 p.m. is the due date for your for the unit, for the unit itself, all right? And Saturday, 11:59 p.m. it's going to be the due date for the final exam. If you have any questions about this or about the lesson, let me know. If not, we are going to finish here. Any questions or something, let me know, please. No?
Oh.
All right, good. As always, I'm going to ask you to fill out the survey, please. Let's do it. I'm going to wait for tomorrow, all right? We're going to have the final conversation, private conversation, and that's going to be it. Have a good night and see you tomorrow, guys. Take care.
Bye, teacher. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.